Hello and welcome to Beastly Theories. I'm your host, endeavour. Today we've got a very special British guest, Mark Farnell. Mark is a British Bigfoot witness. He was in the recent documentary Elusive by Christopher Turner. He's also a documentarian himself, and he's making a documentary about British Bigfoot accounts and other things around the world, like lake monsters and cryptids and very strange and unusual sightings. It should be called Shadows of Doubt. And it'll focus on worldwide activities from lake monsters, UFO encounters, paranormal cases, and werewolf, vampire, Bigfoot accounts. So there's lots going on there. Mark, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm very well.
Fantastic. Well, I just wanted to get started, really. A lot of people aren't aware of the British Bigfoot or its presence in this country, or even the fact that there are, living, new sightings of this creature. A lot of people out there have seen it, like yourself. I just wondered if we could just briefly go over your sighting. What happened to you, how long ago it was, where it was, and how it affected you.
Yeah, it happened probably in the summer of 1996. I was only young, I was probably about 13 or 14 then.
Oh, yeah.
Along that age bracket. And I was just out with a friend of mine, and we were building an assault course through our local woods, which is just a village wood, which we always played in when we were young and never thought anything out of the ordinary with it. But we made this assault course and we tried it out. But as we reached the end of the assault course, we noticed a man walking his dog. Well, at least that's what I thought it was until it came out of the thicket, and in a little sort of small clearing, you could see it wasn't a person walking a dog at all. It was within 15, 20 foot away from me, so it was quite close. And me and my friend, we were gobsmacked. We didn't know what to say or anything. But we stood still and we stared at it, and it stopped, and it turned to look at us both in plain sight, straight, like I'm looking at you now.
Wow.
Turned to look at us and just stared, and it seemed for ages. It probably wouldn't have been, but it seemed for a long time. It was staring for a while, and then it just let out this, the noise it made, the grunting sound. I thought, being a kid as well, I had fear of that, so I legged it. I didn't care about my friend. But we never. I remember though, we never left the wood. We got to the entrance part.
Yeah.
Just collaborated thoughts as you do, and he caught up with me eventually. And we're saying what? Obviously, it wasn't of anything of normality. So we thought, let's go on. Being kids and stupid, we got sticks and tried to walk because it was on the path. That's what I understand. It was actually on the path, but we weren't. We were, because we made an assault course. We're not interfering with people's public walk or whatever. So we walked the pathway around to where we saw it. Nowhere to be seen. We were looking up everything, and it was probably the slowest walk as well because we didn't want to be far in. We were walking around and looking up every tree, behind every stump. We found everything, and then we got to the far end of the wood. And it's not a big wood. That's the thing. It's not a big wood at all. But we got to the far end of the wood, and there's a cornfield. And what I remember, it wasn't there long, probably a pre-laid one. It wasn't there long, so it wasn't high, the corn, probably about a metre high, but you could see a track that ran right across the corn to the wood at the far end.
Wow.
I'm thinking it wasn't in the wood when we went back looking for it, but then again, it could well have been because I was too scared to really properly look.
Yeah, sure.
But it was strange, but the effect it had on me, to be honest, I felt like I shouldn't have seen it, even though I was one of the fortunates to have seen it. But when I was walking home, I didn't feel right walking back, thinking it was gonna. Is it gonna find me or?
Sure, no, sure, definitely.
But it was not a big village; it's only a small one. You're surrounded by fields and woods anyway, so you're walking thinking, oh God, and then you're going through your mind thinking, you could come climb in your window and just like.
So, would you say that what is the name of the village where you were living then?
It was Tarleton. Tarleton Village, in between Southport and Preston.
Okay.
So miles between each, but you're surrounded by farmlands, complete farmlands all the way around.
So this is just really a little outpost amidst loads of uninhabited space, really.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about talking to Deborah Hatswell about it, and she said it makes perfect sense because the River Douglas, which joins onto the River Ribble further down. It goes, so maybe they're using, it's just a blind sight of it. Maybe they're using it as roadways or something, the edges of embankments of rivers or canals or.
Sure.
I just don't know really. To Deborah, I said I can't answer what I saw, but I know what I saw wasn't right. But this day and age.
What would you say about size and appearance, Mark? How would you describe its size and appearance? How did it look?
It wasn't very tall. It wasn't very tall. I mean, we were kids then, so we were only probably 5 foot then in height, and it wasn't much taller. It wasn't much taller. It was big. It was muscular. You could see the shoulders and the biceps and everything like that. I mean, it's enormous, but in height and structure, it wasn't very tall at all. So I'm thinking, very stumpy legs it had. I remember seeing it. Legs had almost like a humpback. It had like a humpback. It had no neck at all. I remember having no neck, but it was like the shoulders, this hump on its back sort of thing, and long matted. The colour of the hair would probably be a mixture of dark grey and brown. A mixture of dark grey and brown. And the sound, I'll never forget the sound. The sound, because I said to Chris, and he said, it actually in a way communicated with us. I'm coming through, get out of my way because I'm not.
Yes. And was it heading down the path towards you, or did it step out into the path and sort of see you both there and I guess give you a warning to move away?
I think more on that line, because it wasn't actually walking direct towards it. It was like passing us, but you're kind of like walking towards you, but in a sort of roundabout fashion, if you get me. Through, I'm thinking, and then when it stopped and just stared at us, that was what cringed me more. That frightened me, because it just.
Do you remember the eyes at all?
I couldn't see its face at all. It was just dark, and it didn't look a big face, like a flat face more so than small but wide. But it was covered in shadow, and it was a bright day, so I don't know, but you couldn't see anything, just see the hair and the body, everything. But it's just the sound it made. I thought, I don't really want to go and ask its name, you know what I mean?
Yeah. A lot of people say when they have these sightings and they have this warning call given to them that it kind of hits them in the chest.
Yes.
Did you get that kind of feeling?
Yeah, exactly. Because when it made the sound, I've said this to numerous people. When it made the sound, you felt it go right through you.
Yeah.
Like you need to clear your chest after it. Just feel it in your chest. I thought, and it frightens you knowing that it was directed straight at you as well. There's no one else behind me. But when I said this to Chris, because it was small, it wasn't tall or anything. Maybe, it could have been young. It could have been a young one. And I'm thinking where its parents are or whichever. And then that's what frightened me even more.
Okay. And you thought about that then at the time, that perhaps you identified that it could have been young itself, and you thought there may have been adults around at that time when you were 13. Is that right?
Yeah. See. But what I said to Chris, that the problem is that, not a problem, but, one of the issues was, it knows I've seen it, and it doesn't want to be found. It doesn't want to be seen. Have I dishonored its sort of code or in any way? It's not going to want to go to its kind and say, I've been seen, or check, their utmost is to hide from us, not be witnessed by 2 loudmouth kids.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I was talking to somebody the other day about Bigfoot sightings, and assessing sightings all over the world, whether it's the Yowie or the Sasquatch or the Woodwose here, generally 99.9%, made up figure of all the witnesses seem to be accidental witnesses. They're not people like me and you now going out looking for it. They're people passing in the car, walking the dog, or kids and women a lot, in countryside settings or on the edge of villages. I wonder when it's kids if they feel a bit less intimidated. So it's shown itself to you, or it's seen you there, and it's been a little more blasé about being being found. But from what you described, it definitely seemed to be very unhappy with your presence there, and you took that feeling back with you as well.
I did. I've never ran as fast. I didn't see. It was kind of like I kind of focused where I was, thinking, right, I'm looking at it. It's looking at me. I didn't care about my friend. It was one. I didn't care. You were there, whatever. I thought, right, is it going to catch him first, or is it going to catch me? And things. It didn't look like it was going to run. That's the thing. How it was stood. Its posture wasn't, I'm going to come after you. It was more, move out of my way. I'm coming through. Yeah. I don't want you there. You shouldn't have seen me. Back off. And
so was it more of a grunt or a growl, like a big yell of some kind, like a deep yell,
like almost like when you clear your throat type of thing, but a mixture with I don't know. It's a tricky one. I know I couldn't do the sound, but it was said that's probably because it went right through me. It was the curdleness of it. You could hear it all in the throat.
Yeah.
And
what, like a gorilla type roar, or like a lion in that depth and that curdled sound, or a bit more human like?
They probably more meaningful than that, more deeper than that. That's what I'm thinking, because I've said to Deborah, because of its size, it wasn't big, it wasn't tall, so it's made a sound that aggressive.
Would the big one be like?
Oh, I know.
Well, how about width? Would you say about a lot of people say when they're very wide, 2, 3, 4 feet across the shoulder? If this thing is about 5 feet tall-ish, more or less, how far across the shoulders do you think it might have been, approximately?
Probably a cupboard, as wide as a cupboard.
Oh wow! Like a little bodybuilder almost.
Yeah, but more square in structure. If you get me, in the shoulders, big, broad shoulders, but you could see how it was going up to its head, like the shoulder the muscle round its head.
Okay. Like those bodybuilders when you see the no neck.
But you could see the physique underneath its hair. It was hairy. Obviously, it was hairy.
Was it thick, the hair, or could you see
patches? It was more in patches thick.
More like hair than fur.
Yeah. But its colouring was very, like I said, because it was the colour of the fur, the hair or whichever. It was like a grey-brown colour, but the skin of it was dark. It was like a dark-coloured skin. Or
like a metal grey, or
say probably like a light brown, maybe. Okay. Maybe a light brown, not too light, just like a brown in shadow type colour.
Okay, like a tanned leather type of.
Yeah,
look,
more like a dark tan if it was. Yeah. But you could see, but I can still see it even though I was a kid. Then I can picture it. I could probably draw it, because what I did when I was a kid, I drew it and my friend drew it. And it was pretty much identical drawings that we have.
That would be amazing. I think that would be amazing.
I wish I did it now. But we
maybe
told
a documentary, being a witness, I think, and being a documentarian or an investigator is a very privileged, let's say, position, because if you're like me, you've never seen anything, but you're fascinated by the genre, then there's a lot of plausibility in it. But when you've seen something, you already know there are things out there that people don't know about.
Exactly.
So your mind's already flipped open, isn't it? What else could there be in this whole world? If you can see 5 foot tall Bigfoot, juvenile, or whatever it was at that time, on the grounds of a small village wood, in the 90s, then what else could be out there? And I think that's at least when I wrote this book, the Beast of Britain book, that was what was on my mind.
Yeah.
There seems to be all these stories from very credible, matter-of-fact people like yourself, not looking for any attention, not looking to promote themselves in any way, and people like Deborah too, another witness, and yet they can't unsee what they saw. Do you find there's details about that day, details about the surrounding environment that aren't really necessary to the story, but you can never forget in the retelling of it? A lot of the witnesses I speak to, they'll say something like, I noticed that street light was out. It wasn't usually like that. Now, I always notice that's not important to the story, but because they've had a trauma-like experience, they can't forget that detail. Do you find you've got details like that in your story that aren't really important to the story, but you can never forget that picture, that scene that day?
Well, the only thing I don't get of that day, because I'm probably the biggest skeptic going. If I can prove it not being what it is, I'd love it not to be what it was, but I can't prove that. I'm gobsmacked with that one. But no, the only thing that I'm puzzled with is why was it there, and how could it have got where it was without being seen by anybody else? Or they may well have seen, someone else may well have seen it, but been like me and kept away, not wanting to say anything. I don't.
Yeah.
And then then there's the other part of it. Is it a flesh and blood? Like what Chris has said, is it flesh and blood, or is it paranormal? Does it fade in and out of our consciousness or something? I don't know, but. Because how they see the scene and then all of a sudden they're gone. They can't be found anywhere. Do
you think that grey and brown sort of mixed fur colour has anything to do with that? That description of that fur seems like a very good camouflage in the forest. The colours are broken up, it might break up the line of the creature.
Yeah,
you went back in looking for it, but actually if it was well camouflaged with that colour fur, I always think, well, perhaps it was just still somewhere. If you know the forest like your backyard, I always think, well, that's its home. It knows where to stand. It knows where to be to avoid detection.
Yeah.
And I wonder sometimes when I've been out in the forest and seen a normal animal like a deer suddenly appear, or a fox or a rabbit, whatever. How come I didn't see that a second ago?
Yeah.
And there it is suddenly right in front of me.
Yeah. No, I see it. Yeah. Yeah. Because it is. I mean, granted, probably every time we go into the woods, we're not looking for these things. They could be right. They could be right there. You look at a wood, you walk along the path. It's lovely, it's pretty. But I don't know if you to like deviate off that path, maybe go up a side of a mountain or whichever.
Yeah.
It's a whole different viewpoint, really, of everything else. I suppose you've got to act a different way when you're in the woods, haven't you? In the wild, you can't.
Yeah.
The hunters, aren't they? If they are around, well, they are around, but they've got to be able to survive and eat livestock, whichever. And then it comes to what you were saying earlier about children. There are reports of children being kidnapped by Bigfoot. Maybe.
Maybe it's possible. I mean, I know that David Paulides with that 411, he seems to propose that possibility in some of the people going missing in the national parks. At least it's alluded to.
Yeah.
Here, I don't know so much. My theory, I do believe that there are creatures like you've seen in this country, spoken to too many different unconnected people with no interest in the subject to believe that they're not seeing something. But we've also got these big cats, and they're not attacking people. Hundreds of people, thousands have seen them. And I think we've got such an abounding amount of food resources in the countryside in this country that wouldn't be necessary to prey upon a human. I was making a point to somebody the other day that there's 33.5 million rabbits estimated in this country. Even the most injured and old leopard could pick up a rabbit. They've been spotted hunting for rabbits in warrens. I had a sighting given directly to me from East Yorkshire. Farmer, one went straight past his tractors. He was baling hay in one of his fields, and it walked straight past him. He said it was only about 3-4 foot long, and it was about 2 foot high. Slinked straight past him. He could have reached out and touched it. It was off to the rabbits and the warrens.
Wow.
And I think they're seen all over the place, and there are very few. I know there was that alleged big cat attack in Cornwall recently. It was trying to get in the window, but that sounds more like curiosity to me. You know, when it bats the boyfriend's hand away, and he's got good skin, so it doesn't get broken. You know, obviously this cat is curious, and it's warning him, but they don't generally tend to go for people. And I think it's to do with we're not a great food source. And when there's so much other food around, like the deer and the boar and the sheep running free everywhere, you know, 16,000 sheep die every year with dog kills. They say it could be other things killing them as well. So, I mean, that's not proof of anything. I realize that. But no, I think it's a good reason for them not to go after people.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is. It's that good theory of it, isn't it? Because they're there. They're about. They'd find some other way. I mean, it's an easier source getting rabbits than going for humans anyway, because, you know, there's probably more of us on this island than there is them. So they're not going to, you know, they're probably just intelligent to know, right, we'll not harm them because, you know, I mean, there has been trouble. there has been cases where, you know, there's been big cat a big cat watching children playing in a school playground. I've heard of that one. You know, nothing happened, man, but it was just watching them. You know, I mean, yeah, because, you know, when they brought in that legal license that you needed to own a cat, you know, people panicked. People panicked and released all the wild animals they had in the moors or wherever. And we've not found a single one that's passed on, so they've survived in some way or other.
That's right. And also, I've spoken to people now that know people that have released them.
Yeah.
It's third hand. They won't reveal who they are, but they know people who release them. They know people that used to have them as pets in the 70s. And pumas and leopards, melanistic leopards were very popular, like panthers, as we call them. I don't think there'd be many jaguars about. There are a few other types of cats, you know, kicking about the place. But they're all over. My study so far says they're nationwide from top to bottom. And that would make sense, because if a breeding pair, you know, they need a wide territory, get together, they have some cubs, and they move out a bit further, and they move out a bit further, and so on and so forth. It would also explain some of the odd-looking big cats people see from time to time. They think are hybrids, because they might have these lack of breeding partners. You know, maybe a puma and a leopard get together, or a lynx and something else. I don't know the biological mechanics of it, but it just seems like that's the one thing that worries me when I'm out in the woods. So I was in Scotland recently at Loch Ness, you might have seen. I walked up the Altnacreesh path out into the Grey Glen Highway, huge pine forest, big steep elevation, nobody around, tourists walking about. There were two big trees pushed across the path along the way. Could have been windfall, to be honest with you. And I didn't hear a single sound. I didn't hear a bird or a deer or anything. I saw plenty of scat. I got right to the top to the loch and looked over it and came back down. And then on the way back down, you know, suddenly, and all the time I'm thinking, beware big cats, you know, keep your eye out for big cats. You're all by yourself up there 4 hours. On the way back down, I get about 100-foot elevation down. I'm looking at this mossy waterfall path. It's beautiful. I'm photographing it. And I think, what was that? I just saw a figure go behind a tree. Like, it was a millisecond in the corner of my eye. And then I started telling myself, come on, Andy, you're up here looking for monsters, and suddenly you think you've seen something. And then I began wondering, well, how many people think they've seen something like that and turn that into an experience? Because it's easy to freak yourself out all alone in the woods. I start coming down, and then I start hearing the twigs snapping and the branches moving in the deepest, really dark part of the forest. I think, well, there's animals here. Now you're hyper aware of it.
Yeah.
If there was ever anything there, I was none the wiser, other than I knew an animal was in the adjacent forest after I freaked myself out. And then I started considering that thing that you obviously had to face that day. You know, if you really bumped into one of these things, would you want to be there? And I think personally, for me, the answer is no. Everybody who sees it says, I wish I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Not like, I would love to see one again.
I just want to know what it was I saw. That's my only, in a way I do, but in a way I'm like, but I just don't, I want to know why I saw it and it wasn't nobody else. You know, it had to be me. And anyway, but I'm thinking, you get all these sightings around the world of these cryptids or something. They get ones where there's allegedly there's one looking in the window of a kitchen window, and it's terrifying. I mean, that'd make you want to move. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not real little.
And obviously, you don't live near this same village anymore. This is probably where you grew up. Is that right?
I don't live far away from it. I mean, my parents still live there.
Okay.
So I see them every now and again. I don't see them that much, but I go there every now and again. But I don't really go that part of it where the wood is, because it's
Is that intentional? Do you avoid it you purposely avoid it?
I took my wife there a few years back, probably about 4 years ago, and when I took her there, I wanted to get out as soon as I went in. It was like pressure on my shoulders as soon as I went in. I'm thinking, and I felt like it was there watching me as soon as I went in. And I said to Deborah, it's a frightening ordeal when you're thinking it's behind every tree, or is it? I mean, it's not gonna be, but your mind starts playing tricks on you, thinking, is it?
Absolutely. I remember Deborah's video of her revisit to Wheel Hill Park with Rob Lee.
Yeah.
And she broke down. She relived the experience. The first time she'd been back there in 4 decades since her sighting. And this is a woman who's dedicated her life since to counseling other people who've had sightings and finding out more about it. And still, it affected her. I was in a local forest here with John Spence, actually, at the end of 2017. And we were looking in a little place called Littleworth Common in Asia. And, we found the usual stuff. We found trees in big X formations and big log jumbles, and even a tiny pinned arch that was pinned down with a log that had obviously been there so long it had grown flat. But it was also really good bushcrafting in the forest, and I just thought, well, there's a lot of green space here, but I also know there's a big gypsy community that frequents different parts of Surrey at points, and they often use different stick signs that tell each other what's going on. At least that's the way I hear it. I don't know if that's I don't know that from them, but other people have told me that. And it just made me think, with the sticks and stones kind of rock piles and sticks, I don't really know if that's an indicator of anything. Not that it's not, but I think, where there is human habitation, you can't really count that kind of thing as evidence. And I wonder what your take was on that.
Yeah, I think it's the same, to be honest, because you're getting these these arches, or you've got like I said, these rock formations, or maybe twigs in a certain pattern on the floor. Or, I mean, weird things happen, but why? Why would? That's my thought. I mean, I've not said it to Deborah or anything, but why would they want to do that and show the fact that either it is? They're not going to want people to know, oh, there is something in that wood. We'll go and look.
Yeah.
If they've got sense, which I believe they have, they're going to keep, a low profile at all times. Travel at night.
Yeah.
If you're going to go anywhere, travel at night.
Of course.
Nighttime. Don't be seen, because they know how harsh human activity is. That we destroy what we don't understand. It's
definitely. Well, if they've always been here with us, they would be adapted to the way we live, for sure.
Yeah. And they've seen the fact that we've had 2 world wars. They're not going to want to know us, to be honest. We're probably the last thing they want to see. It's as a human being, oh, God, get out of the way, because they'll probably blow me up or whichever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know what? I lived, as you probably know, I just live on the outskirts of London. I've been working in central London for 8 years, 9 years. I think it's 10 years. 10 years this July I've been here, and I don't want to see anybody else either. Most of the time, and the humans, that's we not even we like each other. We have to take it from their perspective. I just think if they are there and they are real, from my perspective, from not having ever seen one, then if they've survived this long without detection, it would have to be because at all costs they avoid human contact. And and I don't doubt that there are occasionally some boisterous types of individuals that show themselves to people, but that always seems to be to one individual. It's a lady, or it's some guy out in the woods all by himself, or a bunch of children, that kind of thing. And even then, there never seems to be any harm done, even when there's an aggressive encounter like an intimidation or a bluff charge. It seems to break off in that ape-like fashion.
Yeah.
Before it happens. I tell you what, talking about the feeling that you had from this thing, it was very interesting the same way when I read Hal Smith's encounter. He's the primate keeper who had an encounter in Strathspey Forest in Scotland. 37 years working with gorillas and chimps and orangutans, even almost beaten to death by a chimp once apparently in his workplace. And so he's had some close encounters, some close experience with strong animals. And when he saw that all black, as you described, was about 7 feet tall in Strathspey Forest with his brother, he was terrified. And that interested me to know a person of his experience and interest felt terror and not intrigue. So it must be something about the animal itself that creates that, that experience. Is that, do you think, just a physical manifestation of its power that you can see with your eyes, or something else that it gives to you or does to you?
I see that, yeah. I mean, there's that much going on, government-wise. I mean, I know the government know of them. They know of them. You've got like areas where the government don't want you to go. Maybe that's, I don't know. I mean, are these creatures? They could even be not of this earth. They could be, extraterrestrials for all we know. That's hence why they just disappear. They could be going through either portals or, I mean, there's tons of ways. I mean, I know, there's so many, there's thousands and thousands of miles of disused mine shafts.
Yeah, railway tunnels too.
Yeah, and cave systems that haven't been explored. And, I mean, especially at Bempton, where Paul Sinclair is, there's that place where there was Paul and I think a friend of his that was sat on the cliff front, and he heard this scurrier, this sort of sound coming up the cliff, like it was climbing up the cliff. They never saw what it was, but it jumped over whichever it was and ran into. They could hear it run off into the field.
And they saw the silhouette of the thing jumping over, didn't they? Actually,
yeah.
Some eye shine, some big eye shine of some kind. I remember that much. I mean, that whole investigation up there and the film he did with Christopher, I think, is really phenomenal. And his Truth Proof book is actually on my list. He's on my list of people to interview too. He's a great guy to listen to.
Yeah.
Got that voice that draws you in. So I really like listening to him and watching his videos too. But the book, that's next on my list. About your documentary, you're putting something together yourself. Tell us all about that.
Well, that's the thing. I'm starting. It started off as just something that I was interested in, but it was more Bigfoot orientated. But I thought that's Chris's line. I don't want to be stepping on his shoes, so I left it be. And then I had an epiphany of an idea of some sort. I thought I'd rather make it worldwide so it covers more of an area, because I'm interested in lake monsters, not just Bigfoot. You got the dogmen or werewolf or whichever you wish to call it, paranormal like ghost attacks or ghost encounters or whichever. But everything from A to Z, if I could. So there's UFOs as well, because there's a lot of stuff going on, especially Randlesham Forest. I'd like to get down there and have a look at that, but just to know that all these. I was talking to Steve Mara today at work at.
Okay.
Because I'm doing that editing thing with Chris.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's good. It's going well. I'm learning every day, shall I say?
Yeah, he's great. He's a good teacher.
Yeah, he's great. But he was talking to me. He was saying, he believes that these, people who have been abducted, they've got like an iron deficiency. There's no iron in their system, like they've.
Really?
And I'm thinking maybe that's what's drawing them. There's all this, but then he's like showing me this. He's got this map on his computer screen. He went, "Look at this," and it was in America somewhere. I think it was Yosemite National Park or wherever, and he was saying there's been a lady found with I think it was four broken ribs, and she was found at the top of a tree.
Okay.
A tree with four broken ribs. I'm thinking, oh God.
Got some pretty serious big cats in that park, though.
I'm thinking, you know, maybe a bear has attacked her, and
they've got bears, they've got big cats, everything in Yosemite Park. Yeah.
I mean, I said to Chris, the thing is with a bear, if you climb up a tree, that bear's coming after you. The next bear climb a tree, and
a black bear can scale a 30-40 foot tree. I mean, easily. But a big cat, I mean, would generally, if it's killed you to eat you later, it'll stash you up there at the top of the tree. They've got some pretty serious cats. I know a lot of people have been killed in Yosemite National Park by the wildlife. You know, it's a serious place. I was in the US recently, and I landed in Florida first, actually. And you always forget, because we're in Britain and we don't really have any big predators, right? That we know of, anyway, that we know of for sure. And landed in Florida, there was a storm, my plane got brought down. And they put me in this hotel, and there was a swimming pool at the back. There was a big pond. They called it a pond. It was like a lake, basically, right? At the back, and there was little deck chairs down by the end of the lake, and all these no swimming alligator signs everywhere, and hammocks right next to it. Don't go in the water. There's alligators, but you're right on the edge, on this little hammock or deck chair. So I said to the owners, "So there could be alligators in there." She said, "Listen, any body of water in Florida could be occupied by an alligator at some point. So we put the signs up." I said, "What do I do if I see one?" She said, "Run." I said, "Run where?" She said, "Well, up a tree if you can." So I was thinking, oh my goodness, this is this is just a natural part of life. And I said, "What about a fence?" She said, "No, they wouldn't invest in a fence. You can't keep them out." So I just thought this is a natural part of life for them, pythons and alligators, and poisonous snakes, because they don't even bother to keep them out. It's a buyer beware situation. And the same in Yosemite National Park, you've got wolves and bears and cougars.
Yeah,
and the locals.
But
we don't have to think about those things ourselves normally. And studying this big cat thing here, now when I'm out in the forest, I'm thinking, okay, keep your eyes open, keep looking up to the trees as well, making sure you know what's above you. Because they haven't attacked anybody yet, but who knows? You could be looking particularly tasty today.
Yeah, there's nothing else because the weather's crap, so we'll have
the weather's rubbish. Yeah, and there was a lot of sightings this summer apparently because of the drought. So they were being brought out into the open. So there was an increase in big cat sightings this summer, and people assumed that it was because of this drought that they were seeking animals further afield.
Yeah. Oh God.
Oh yes. Dear. Yeah. So what will you do when you finish the documentary? What's the time scale? What different areas are you going to include in it, and when do you want to get it done and released?
I'd like it to be done by summer, preferably. But I've started this job with Chris, the editing and that, and I'm putting two and two together here. So it's probably not going to get released probably until autumn, winter time. Probably because I've got that much left to do. It's because it's covering such a massive variety of everything. I've got to find the people to interview. I've got to find.
No, I know. I mean, I know there's some getting witnesses like yourself who are willing to be interviewed is a very tall challenge. It's a very big challenge, and yourself and maybe 3 or 4 other people in the Bigfoot camp have been the only people willing to speak to me. Big cat people, they're very happy to tell you, because they don't have to appear to be crazy to tell you they saw a big cat, just that it was in the wrong place. But could there be a 5 to 8 foot tall bipedal hairy man living in the British Isles forever and we never knew about it? Well, you must be a nutbag, clearly. And if you tell everybody you've seen one, I mean, can you tell us what happened? Did you tell many other people what has happened in your life? What have been the negative effects of sharing this with people? What do they say normally when you tell them?
I'm very reluctant to tell them, really, because me and my friend had the same idea. But it's a small village, and it won't take long for the whole village to know. If I just told one person, by the end of the evening, the whole village would have known.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then what fears you is ridicule. You don't want to be ridiculed, or you know. And at that age, you know, you think ridiculed, bullied, or you know, you think I'll just keep a low brow on it. But over time, I thought, you know, there's some, and I still talk to him every now and again, but he won't talk about it at all.
Sure.
I think what we saw, he went, oh yeah, and they'll change the subject. They'll go on to something else. You know, he won't talk about it at all. Like what we saw, like I don't know. I don't know. Anyhow, yeah, I'm going skiing next week, and right, okay, you know, or anything like that.
Yeah, moving on.
Yeah, it's but you know, it may have even affected me more than him, really, because I don't know. I thought I saw it and it growled, and I'm thinking in my mind it growled at me personally. It wouldn't have. It growled at us both, but in my mind, just to get, you know, the speed I ran, it said it growled at me.
He might not have forgiven you for leaving him behind.
It's right, because I'm thinking, because like I said to Chris when I was talking to Chris Turner, he was saying, you know, all this, you know, the ins and outs of where it would have gone. I said, I don't know where it would have gone. I'm glad it didn't end up in my house. That's where I'm.
Living out there on the edge in the countryside as well, you suddenly realise how exposed you are to the elements, you know, to what could be out there. So if there's a big cat, people, and I feel for them in these countryside settings, they've seen something prowling, they've got kids. Of course, they're going to be thinking, you know, what's the issue here? Are we safe? Is this thing going to be stalking the house? And the same with a creature like that. You must have been thinking for years afterwards.
The human nature part, you think safety. It's going to. If you don't, again, if we destroy what we don't understand, we think, oh, the worst before, you know, we'll shoot before we think.
Yeah.
Shoot, and then, oh, we've killed it now, right? Oh, the men in black have arrived. And then it goes even further. Then, but you're thinking, right? If they're about, I mean. They've got to be about. I mean, what I saw, and I keep like skepticizing myself, thinking it can't have been, but I know, what it was. I can't explain. But then I've got people saying, oh yeah, but people would have found them by now. I'm thinking, yeah, but you don't see baby pigeons, you don't see, there's many of animals you don't see. When was the last badger you ever saw?
I've never ever seen a badger, and I've been walking in all these woods down here in Surrey for the last 10 years. I've seen mink. I've seen a mink. I've seen foxes. I've seen stoats, all kinds of animals, those green parrots that we have here. I've even seen a catfish, I think, in the Thames, like a Wells type catfish, breach in the surface. And at that point, I had my camera on video mode because I was videoing ducks, and it was there for 5 seconds, and I failed to get a clip of it with my camera on at the time. It shows you how quick things happen sometimes, you know. I had it on, I had it pointed in the general area, then this big sort of round head came out of the water, about like this, I guess, like that. Like a black head came up like that, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, what's that? Oh, I think that's a catfish. And then as I turned the camera, it was gone. And I just thought, because they're not supposed to be here, not in the Thames. There was a little tale, I think, down in Olympic Village in the river there, that part of the Thames, of something sucking ducks into the water, you know, a couple of years back, which could be a pike, actually. I don't think I saw a pike because it was too round. And it didn't come up quick. It came up slow, like it was taking a gulp of air, that kind of thing. But, you know, it just goes to show sometimes you don't see these things. I'm walking in Richmond Park, Bushy Park all the time. You do see the deer when they come up to the fence, but when I'm out in the forest part, I don't see them. They're tiny park. So animals, a lot of people, I think, don't realize that wild animals don't want to be around us.
Exactly. The same
reason. They're looking for interaction with us.
They're thinking, right, they cut our trees down. You know, this Bigfoot could have lost his whole family's home because we've decided to build on it. Of where it was, you know, I mean, that's all we do. We pillage everything we find. We knock down every tree. And then we think, oh, we'll replant it, but not realizing it'll take about 40, 50 years for a tree to grow out of that seed.
Yeah.
We're losing cover every single week, of what's being done. But there was something that I saw on Facebook a few months back, which interests me. I think it was Facebook or YouTube. And it was footage of the 10 different species. No, not 10. The 8 different types of Bigfoot.
10. That's Matt Squatch.
Yeah.
We've just talked. I talked with him recently. Actually, he's a great guy, but a very, very interesting, very informative video. Actually.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. It was cool because it was through the ones that you don't mess with.
Yes.
and then it's the big one. Apparently, the big ones are the softest ones. They're not the ones that do any harm or anything.
Yeah.
There's one that actually they travel in packs. Apparently, or there's a groups of. I'm thinking, oh, yeah, I wouldn't one of them besieging your house at night. Well, there would be one. There'd be a pack of them.
He asked me about different types over here, and I said, in general, it's hard to determine types because people here don't have Bigfoot on the brain, so they describe them as like a large upright chimpanzee or a big orangutan with a flat face or a bonobo ape on 2 legs that was very large. So people are really using something from their mental library to describe it and not saying, well, that one was like an ape type, that was like a man type. But people are supposedly, the British Bigfoot old woes are supposed to be more like the Russian Almas. I'm not sure about that because some people have described this very sort of hairless face. But most people say the face is in shadow, like you said, from the surrounding hair, or you just can't seem to see the face very clearly when you see it. Whether that's because of hair or the deep set eyes or whatnot, I don't know.
It's down to its posture, even just how it stood.
Did it seem to be stooped over your one, or did it seem to be upright?
It's like if you imagine you stood up, but you're leaning on something.
Yeah.
In that sort of way. I mean, it wasn't leaning on anything at all, but it was there, and you could see it breathing, and its shoulders going up and down as it was breathing, which I thought was frightening as well, because it's like it's taking deep breaths to run at me. That's
agitated. Did it seem agitated before the growl then, with this breathing, with this heavy shoulder movement?
It turned to see us. It turned its head to see us. Then it turned back facing where it was going, and then it got into a little bit of a clearing, and then it turned its whole body to us. Wow. You could see it breathing. I thought, oh, and then I couldn't hear it breathing, but you could see its shoulders going up and down, and thinking, right, okay, and then it just did this, the grunted, I don't know.
Yeah,
I didn't like. Yeah, it was certainly a warning to, I'm hungry, move.
And did you feel like that? Did you feel like you were looking at a predator? Or an animal that was just very powerful and strong, and that's in retrospect, I'm sure you probably didn't feel that at the time, but looking back at the feelings you had at the time, was that running because you saw something unusual, or because you saw something that had the potential to harm you?
Well, I was trying to see a person when I was looking at it, trying to see through it as a person, and I couldn't, but it was more person-like than ape. In how it was stood like an ape, it was slumped over, but it was built like, it was like Pumping Iron, Arnold Schwarzenegger, how it was built. It was enormous, but it wasn't tall. It was stumpy legs. Incredibly hairy, but you could see through the hair onto its body. You could see the body, the chest, everything.
And this dark tanned coloured skin underneath.
See the dark. I couldn't see. I could only see one leg. One leg, because obviously the shrubland and everything. But I could see I could see from the stomach upwards. Yeah, I could see pretty much the whole torso upwards.
Fascinating.
And the first leg, but it was just. And I start arguing myself. Thinking, get a grip.
Get a grip. It's just a dream. Wake up, Mark. Wake up.
Yeah, and I got one of my friends, because we told one of my friends, and he went, "It was a cow." I went, "A cow? A cow? A cow stands on two legs, does it? A cow stands on two legs."
But you know what's funny about that, actually? That another researcher I know, he calls things like that the "my theory sucks the least theory." So somebody, a skeptic, puts something forward that's not very plausible, but it's accepted by people because it's preferable to thinking there is a Bigfoot, or a lake monster, or whatever else, or aliens or something. And they say, "Well, maybe you saw." Maybe you saw with aliens. Maybe you saw a skinned monkey escape from a lab. With a silver suit and a laser.
I love that one. Escape from a lab. You're thinking, this is Tarleton Woods. Tarleton Woods. Where's the lab?
And where are the 5-foot monkeys that stand upright anywhere in the world, in any lab? It's interesting to me because, and obviously, meeting you now, we've spoken a few times online.
Yeah.
You're obviously a very regular, down-to-earth guy. You're open-minded, but you're not fanciful. You don't have a fanciful character. I believe what you say, and I think it's a very valid and close sighting. Not many people have had one that close. There's no question in your mind as to what else it could have been. You might not know what it is exactly.
Exactly, yeah.
But it seems clear to me that it's not a person or a cow.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's what I said. I was 20, 15 foot away from it. I mean, that's not a long distance.
Oh,
it's quite short to know if it was a person. But I'm looking at it thinking, and everything's going through my mind thinking, it's going to run in a minute. It's going to run. It's going to sprint straight at me. And I'm thinking, right, beat it because you're a bit in front of it. I kind of looked at my friend thinking, which way he's facing, he's going to run that way, which is good. He's more likely to get in that way than I'm going that way.
But that's another signifier of a real experience. You had a survival assessment, a survival instinct assessment of your surroundings. My friend will go that way, I'll go that way, I'll probably be okay.
It's funny because I remember saying to him, that's what I asked him. I mean, I can't really remember. Which way are you running? Which way are you running? Are you running first or should I? And I just looked up at him and went, and I just darted. And I remember seeing it through my peripheral. I remember seeing it again still there. And I'm thinking, and when I'm running, I'm thinking it's coming after me. And that's all I'm thinking. And so your adrenaline's pumping. And I'm seeing branches flying past me. I'm thinking, I'm
not going to make it. I'm not going to make it.
I can hear a friend of mine behind going, "Don't leave me!" But it's funny. But the thing is, I remember Deborah's account, which she said, she threw her friend to the floor and
pushed her to the ground and ran off so it would get her.
I mean, it's horrible, but it is. It's down to the survival, isn't it? You think, something as terrifying as that, you don't want to be its next
meal or victim. This is the way I think about it. If you're walking in the forest now and you see a bear, you see a big brown bear in the forest, you'd be terrified, right? Even if you saw a small black bear in the forest, you'd be scared. So, you're in the forest, you see a bear, you'd be scared, you'd run. If you see something like you did, you do not recognize. You have no idea what it's capable of, what its intentions are, what it might want to do. And this, as I was saying to the other researcher the other day, when you finally look for something and you find it, then you totally understand and comprehend what it means to be in that situation of what happens next.
Yeah.
Because it's a creature, an individual, and you both have to make a decision about what goes next. And maybe, some bears will just pass you by and other bears will run after you and squish you,
Yeah.
You don't know how it's going to go ever. It's a 50-50 situation. So, that terror, hands off to you. That's a difficult thing to deal with, especially as a teenager.
Yeah.
Especially as a teenager.
I mean, all that's going through your mind at that age is you're off school, so enjoy it. You're not thinking I'm going to be making an assault course and then, Bigfoot's going to come along. I mean, why? I've said to other friends, if I was to say something that wasn't in line with that or untruthful, I'd have thought of something a lot better than a Bigfoot.
Yes. There's many things and also in the 90s there, what was really on TV to push you into thinking you saw a Bigfoot? Nothing really. That whole Patterson Gimlin thing from the 70s that's passed by, the In Search of documentaries are gone. Nobody's really covering things. There's a few Monster Quest, things about.
Well, you think, oh, I never knew it was. I mean, till I saw what I saw, I thought, no, I'm in Britain. I'd have laughed if someone said, "Oh, Bigfoot in Britain." I'd have giggled.
Well, many people are still laughing in the community, cryptozoology community too, actually, and it's hard for people who in this community to believe. Never mind people outside. So I think, it's a big thing for you to come out and talk about it. Really, I think it's a big. It takes a bit of courage to do that.
That's the thing, is it? It's all the questions that I've still got that I'm trying to I get answered in the documentary I'm making. I'd like some some other person, I mean, like yourself, your thoughts on it, and I find it all interesting. Everybody's thoughts is I couldn't get enough of them, because everything is possible this day and age. Everything, it seems, is possible. So
certainly does. It does.
It's been in the right place at the right time, but then again, that to me really wasn't the right place. I would have done. I'd have, and I'd have thought I'd have lived a normal life then.
Yeah. Well, hopefully. But lucky you. You had this experience, and it opened up your mind to the things, and here you are being open to ask the questions. I'm really, really interested in how the documentary is going to turn out. I'd love to see it, and when you're finished, I'd love to put it on this page. Just before we finish up, I'm just wondering, is there somewhere that people can find you? Where can they go? Are you doing a Kickstarter of the documentary or a GoFundMe? How can people support you?
Yeah, at the moment I'm individual at the moment myself, but I've got Chris said he's a shout away if I need any help, or Deborah said she'd assist in any way I need. Paul Sinclair, he's another chap who said that he'll do what he can. So there are some, and yourself if you feel if you see it. But it's at the moment. I was talking to Chris today actually at work, and I was saying, I've not started my video vlogs yet of where I'm getting. He said. He just keeps saying, I wouldn't bother, Mark. I wouldn't bother. Your best bet is make the documentary in your own speed. Yeah. And just self-release it, whichever you can. And get some followers. If you can get some followers on whichever social network, Twitter, YouTube, whichever, or Facebook even, it's a good start. But Deborah said, there are people out there that'll help you.
Definitely.
I think Bigfoot Tony was one of them, but he seems to have gone off the radar a bit. I don't know where he is.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know Jason personally. I've spoken to him once or twice, just in a few messages. I really love his videos, his breakdowns. They're really amazing to have somebody with his skills, photographic skills, to look at those bits of evidence too. He's like the British thinker, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's how. When I've got some of my subscriptions, I've got Thinker, I've got BT, Bigfoot Tony. Then every time something new comes out, I'm thinking, okay, what are these guys going to make of it? And maybe that will shed some light on what I think. Now, I think it'd be fantastic. Just get it out there. Personally, what helped me was actually releasing little blogs and vlogs all the way along. In fact, with my book, I think I'd released maybe 15 blogs before it came out, and I did maybe 50, 60 interviews talking about writing it all the way. So by the time it came out, people knew for a long time. Yeah. But when it was delayed for about 3 months, it's probably what Chris is talking about, there was a bit of a lag then where people saying, okay, he's talking about this all the time, so where is it happening? Now with the TV series that I've been pitching for the last year and haven't sold yet, it's like, okay, so I thought you were doing a TV series, and really, I want to pitch it. I want to get it on a network. Yeah. And I do have some meetings coming up and things, but meetings are just meetings. They don't mean anything. So they mean that somebody's agreed to see you, and there is a danger in publicizing something too much that people start expecting something that doesn't come or come in time to for them to benefit from what you're saying.
That's exactly when people are saying, "Oh, when's it going to be out?" I'm thinking, I'm hoping summer. I was hoping summer. That was late last year. And then I thought, I've got too much to film. And then I kept getting different cameras. That was my problem. I kept buying different cameras. So the pixel quality got better and better. So the stuff that I've recorded, I'm thinking it's like a handy cam who's done.
You've got to go back and start again.
And then I'm like, it's too much. I thought, back to the Forest of Dean. I guess no.
Forest of Dean.
Go to Colford. It's only down the road. Yeah,
I know.
7 hours down the road.
We all work. We all have families and bits and pieces going on, and we have to do things. I've got 2 young children as well, and living that London life and 40-hour, 3-hour daily commute and doing all of this, sooner or later it starts to tell on you. But it's also good because it's exciting. I don't know your age. I'm 42, so I started writing this thing when I was 40. The book originally because my wife said I got 40 fever. So I got hit 40 and said, I've got to do something. Got 40 fever. Damn it, I've got to do something. And I'd been a musician for years and years and years before that, and I kind of petered out in my late 30s where I wasn't serious or touring anymore because I just got too old and fed up with it. And that was from age 12. We gigged from age 12 on, which is to biker gigs with friends and family, and went all the way through and got close. We never quite got there, and which is most people. That's the story of most musicians, actually. And working in London, hit 40, and I said, "Do you know what? I got to do something." And she said, "What about this? What about this monsters thing that you like? Why don't you do something with that monster thing you're always talking about?" And so I just, okay, I'll have a look at it and start putting it together. And it's been, it's been fun.
It becomes an addiction, doesn't it?
Yes.
I mean, because I've said this to Chris, when everything I'm doing, everything that I seem to be doing is for this document. Yeah, I've been there, and I've gone through I've filled my computer. I've no more hard drive left. It's just
That can think of USBs everywhere.
The thing is that I keep everything. I don't throw. I maybe I should throw. No, I might need it for another thing that I do later on. It's fine. And I've got my hard drive going, please empty me.
Listen, I've got the backup hard drive. I've got an email phone. I've got a drawer full of USB sticks. I've got papers, reams and reams of paper and all the study stuff that I've hidden everywhere. And I think one day, I want that information. I want to have catalogued it. We don't do that so much more now. The things are on computer. A massive file full of all the expeditions and stuff. And I just think it might come in handy, or, I could just collect dust in there for the next 30 years.
I might need it for another time. What if, and then you're actually plotting a scene where you can put it in. You haven't filmed it yet. You're like, put it in there. But yeah, I'll film that another time, but I'll leave that on my hard drive. But I have cleared off a lot of stuff. I've got a bit more memory now, but it's not enough at all. I mean, there's too much, and I won't get rid of it. I need a bigger computer. I need like a 2 terabyte or something.
Yeah, but slowly but surely.
Yeah.
Are you going to make like a cost assessment, a little presentation to the wife on why you're going to get this new computer? That's what I do. I got to get like the presentation, the graphs and the charts and stuff. Why I need this piece of equipment. Yeah. And well, fair enough. When you're a family man, you've got to justify the cost.
Like my eldest lad, he's saying, "Oh yeah, just make one, build one." I'm thinking, yeah. I mean, I could do, but it'll work out more expensive if I build one.
Yeah.
Because I've got to buy the motherboard. I've got to.
There's a reason it's cheaper to buy one, because they can make them en masse.
Yeah.
I'm
always on eBay or Amazon looking for something just a better quality. And that's the thing. I keep doing it, and I'm getting stuff that's too, pixel wise, it's too much. It's better than the one before. So I'm like, I've got to have it. And Chris is the same. He does. Oh yeah. You get the Canon 600D. It's fine. Yeah. Oh yeah. Now I'm after the the EOS 80D.
Wow. I mean, you guys are so high tech. I take like a GoPro out, an 8-man cam. I've got my phone, and I use my laptop, and I'm just extremely low tech. And I'm not a filmmaker, so any stuff I write, I put the scripts together. Anything I put together, I'm like, if you need to build a house, get an architect, you know, and to design it and get a builder to build it. I'm not neither of those things. I just grab the people that can do it. That's the way forward, you know. Everybody gets their part.
Yeah, it's the best. I mean, that's what I'm still doing. I'm still doing with that my documentary. I'm still writing it. It's see what I'm trying to do that's different. I've said to Chris as well, and I want to see. I like what you've done with Elusive. I think it's wonderful what you've done. But with mine, from the lake monsters to UFOs and everything in between, I want them all to relate.
The links are difficult.
In a nice sort of easy flow to watch, really. So it's not mumble jumble where, oh yeah, this, and then next minute it's a pig man, or you know, I'm thinking, I've got to be in continuity with everything else. I thought it's more of an organic approach to do the documentary instead of it just being, witness statements. Because people want more than just witness statements. They want
it's got to be watchable. I mean, I did put a lot of sightings in the book, but generally speaking, I had chapters with a bit of theory and a couple of sightings, and all of the A to Z of sightings was at the back in a kind of like a glossary. So you can look at just that if you want to, but nobody's going to read or watch something that's just witness after witness. You just need 3 or 4 good recreations of the scenes and things, don't you?
That's what I've said to, because I like to do reenactments on mine. They've got the story, and then but when they're saying it, we can have the reenactment as well. I mean, there's a very good one that I want to do. I'm dying to do it, but it's going to cost me a lot of money. I need a Viking longship, one of them, and I can't hire one of them for less than $1,000.
Can you hire one for over $1,000? Oh my goodness!
I've looked.
Yeah, have you?
The cheapest one is £300 per hour, and I've said
with the crew.
All I need is for I could shoot it in. It'd take me 20 minutes to shoot it. I only want to see that, and then that's it. I won't need it for an hour. Take it back after 20 minutes. How much for 20 minutes? But
can you book a ride on the Viking longship and then just kind of a couple of shots on there?
I have thought of it. There's stuff because I've storyboarded a few little bits. I thought I'd love to see it. It's about the New World. When the Vikings went to America.
Yeah.
I think it's Leif Erikson.
Oh, Leif Erikson. Yeah.
And I thought that his story would be great to have a reenactment of. I mean, it would. It'd be quite moody and it is. I'm thinking, it's just it's America.
Is he the guy that named Greenland so that people would move there?
I think it was. Was a very important person, wasn't he?
I think he wanted to get people to colonize this area, and they were having fights with the Inuits and everything there at the time. But then there's only tiny proportions of this coastal bit of this land that you can actually live on because of the really harsh climate. So I think he called it Greenland. I don't know. This is something I remember hearing. I don't know as a fact, to get people to go there.
Yeah.
There were no brochures, so they didn't know, did they? They just got there and thought, oh, bloody hell, it's a bit icy.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it'd be a nice reenactment to do, and a few others as well. I mean, it's just the expense of it. And I've said to Chris, when it's the expense, and he's just like giggling, Chris, while I'm saying it, because he went, welcome to documenting.
Yeah. I mean, he's really hardcore. When he helped me out with my little teaser trailer, we did that over 2 days. Me, him, and Darren in Lake Windermere.
Oh yeah.
We got an Airbnb. Darren got a tent somewhere, and he filmed all of that, and plus the little sort of adult clips that we borrowed just to demonstrate the point of what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Did all of that in 2 days. I did a few voiceovers at home with a little mic, sent them to him, and within a week he had that whole thing up, and he had maybe 4 or 5 hours of footage from those 2 days, and I wasn't a natural because I wanted to do it, but I never presented in any way before.
Oh yeah.
So I think there were I think it was like an average of 10 takes per scene he had to do with me. And then I don't talk very loudly either. So there was this thing like, Andy, you need to be louder, you need to get louder. And I'm like, but I'm shouting. He's like, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're talking with a calm, slightly like you.
He said about present. He said so how are you going to present it? I'm thinking, well, I'd like to do it myself because I know the direction it wants to go in more. So I know. The thing is, I've said to him, I hate my own voice. That's the thing. So voiceover, really, if I can change that, on the EQ, that'd be great. I'll change my voice. But I know I know how to detail it or guide it in the right direction. But it's also a save on hiring someone to do the voiceover and everything else. I wouldn't. God.
But I think also that everybody hates their own voice. I hate the way my voice sounds when I hear it objectively. It sounds like to me it always sounds like some Safa that's come to the UK and he's pretending to be British, and nobody believes him. And yeah, I am British, and nobody ever believes me. It's a strange voice. And to the Americans, when I talk to those guys, and they're very lovely with that, I sound really British to them. But to anybody British, and you probably hear this yourself, you're thinking, "Where is that from? What's that accent?"
Yeah, I don't have an accent. You did, and I've had that said before. You did have an accent. I don't. You said you've got a northern accent. Have I?
I do.
Have I? But it's like when you listen to Paul Sinclair. It's a very It's like, well, you can tell you're from Yorkshire.
But people like those accents a lot. I find that they really like northern accents, Yorkshire, those kinds of places, even Lancashire. Those types of accents. Maybe like a Highland Scottish or an Aberdeen type of Scot. Wales, we get that. I grew up in Wales actually, so we got Irish on dad's side, English on mum's side. I grew up in Wales, and that's always my excuse for the screwed up accent. But I know it's not really the reason. It just, I always sounded like this. And in my area, it's Cardiff, so they were very strong Cardiff accents.
Yeah.
I can do it, but I remember walking past these guys one time. It was a very rough area in urban Cardiff, and I was walking past this group of boys. I had my bike, and a few of them started harassing me. And then I saw one that I knew. And they always used to say safe, how you doing? So they say, safe, and I was going. And I said, safe, boys, how are you? And I hear one of them say, who's that? Who's that guy? And the other one says, oh, don't worry about that. That's Andrew. He talks funny, but he's one of us. And I'm thinking, I talk funny. Listen to you. I talk funny. Oh, don't worry about that. He talks funny, but he's one of us. He's safe. And that's the environment. And I don't know why I ended up sounding this way. I know my grandmother was really, really strict about pronunciation. She was like obsessed with the Queen. She had corgis and everything. So she'd be correcting our grammar as we were speaking a sentence.
That sounds like my mum.
Yeah, exactly. They should be correcting that. You've seen that Monty Python Life of Brian. Conjugate the verb to go.
Yeah.
Romanus, Annie. And it's just terrible. She's obviously just trying to educate us, because you're in a rough neighborhood. But to the locals, we sounded like we didn't belong there at all.
Oh, God.
Yeah. We should probably finish up soon, but I just so if anybody wants to find you, where should they go? Find you on Facebook under Mark Farnell?
I'm on Facebook. Look for Mark Farnell on Facebook. You'll find me if they go into the same websites. I think Deborah Hatswell's on. You'll find me. I'm on that one.
Okay, on the British Bigfoot Research Group.
I think I'm on 3 of the Bigfoot ones. I think so. Anyway.
Bigfoot Research UK with
Bigfoot Research UK. I think there's National Cryptids. Is the one called National Cryptids or Bigfoot
Society? Jesse James did. Yeah.
I'm on that one. I'm also on the Dogman UK one as well.
Oh, great! Fantastic.
I think there may be another one, but I can't think now because I clicked join.
Your main place.
Say again, sorry.
Would you mainly be found on British Bigfoot Research on Deborah's side? Okay.
Yeah.
You're one of the admins there, aren't you? Or
Say again, sorry.
What are the admins on that site?
Yeah, I'm on it. I don't really, because I've not been on it for a while. So I say I've not been on it for a while. I was on it before, but I just see if I've got a message. Just have a quick read, see if anything new's been put on.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But other than that, I don't really. But yeah, I'm usually on it. I'm usually on it by every day, some way or other. But yeah, it is.
I'm going to let you go. I'm going to sign off, let you back to your kids, and I will. I'll get a few Z's in before the morning. Now, second guest, I think having an actual witness on the show has been fantastic, and I'd just like to recommend your documentary to everybody. You're a credible person and witness. I think it's going to look really good when it's done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cheers, buddy. Take care.
And you. Bye bye now.